Deep dive interviews with music gear inventors, builders, creators, and tone chasers. The Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl uncovers the behind-the-scenes stories of the music gear that inspires us. And now, here's your host, Eric Dahl.
Here we go. Rich DeGento from Acoustic Coffee Company. Rich, I really appreciate you joining the show for this with Gear Gab to talk about coffee. And in fact, I have a cup of your coffee right here I would like to mention. And this is the augmented blend. Cheers to you, my friend.
Oh, okay.
Good to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
You know, we were talking about this before we started doing the show, Rich. You and I met not long after you and Mike had started this great company, the Acoustic Coffee Company. And it was so interesting to me because, first of all, just like on your shirt, you got a great logo. I mean, just like there, look at that. And it's amazing to me, and I want you to tell the story, Rich, like we were talking about, to where you and Mike, you know, and you're a luthier, you build guitars, you work on guitars, and that's your passion also. But you and Mike decided to do this very different coffee company, and you know, and pulled in some great people that we're going to talk about as well to you know, that are part of this, like Tommy Emmanuel, Jake Shimabukuro, and of course Greg Voros. But it's like, and it also works with charities, and it's incredible coffee. Kind of tell our listeners and viewers for the show, Rich, how you and Mike came up with this whole concept.
How much time do we have?
You know, we'll you know, just start it rolling. You know.
You know, Eric. So first of all, thank you again for inviting us on. We concepted this during the pandemic. It was really nothing super complicated. We enjoy coffee, and I'm building instruments, and I bring my coffee to the shop right here. In fact, I'm literally in the space that I was. I'm sitting in front of my workbench. And
that is so cool.
I don't remember what was on the bench, probably some of those things back there in different degrees. But I built 4 during the pandemic, but every morning I would come down, first thing, have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Have the cup of coffee, assess what's going on for the day, maybe have a second cup of coffee. By the way, the coffee certainly helps me doing, you know, paying it focused, like carving the heel, or, you know, anytime you're working with a micrometer, read it second time, read it a third time. But anyhow,
coffee helps everything.
Doing this day after day, I'm thinking, wow, there might be something going on. And having a marketing background, I started thinking about all of the other coffees. I want to stay focused on this. The idea was literally born right here where I'm sitting
on the workbench, working on guitars, building guitars.
So then it was, okay, there's an idea, but, you know, is it a valid idea? So now you have to kick the tires and do the due diligence and look at the market opportunity. And the market opportunity was, first of all, never, my whole life, you wake up and you have a cup of coffee. You don't really think about what it is you're doing. I know it's a commodity, but not really paying attention from a marketing perspective.
Right.
So then I started researching how much coffee is consumed. That's ridiculous. I mean, the number of cups that are consumed just in America, and America is not even the largest per capita in terms of consumption. So, you know, the data is all over the place. I don't want to misquote, but I can tell you that we looked at data that ranged from 400 million cups to 800 million cups a day in America.
That's a lot of coffee.
Okay, so there's probably an opportunity, but the other thing that was very interesting is, when it comes to the cause marketing and the charitable side of it, which was very important to us, we knew we wanted that aspect. And we knew, because our passion also lies in the music side, specifically in instrument building, acoustic, there was an idea there with acoustic. The coffee actually makes a sound when it's roasted. There's a first crack, there's a second crack. So there's starting to be some real excitement about this idea. But what we found is 2 things. One, there was nothing in the space of acoustic instruments and acoustic music and coffee, but there certainly are successful models. pretty much any cause you can imagine, puppy dogs, kittens, first responders, firemen, there's a Thin Blue Line, there's a coffee that is cancer. There's a coffee out there for that cause.
Right.
What we didn't find a lot of was coffee that helps support music related charities. Okay. So that's a wonderful opportunity. And then the other thing is, building this idea from the ground up. Where do you even begin? We didn't know where to begin. So, all right, we're going to need branding. Check that box. We can do
well,
that.
And also, yeah, you've got a marketing background, Rich. So yeah, it's like, so the branding and marketing thing, I don't think was ever an issue. And in fact, I got to commend you.
Oh, thank you.
When you guys launched it, it was, everywhere you were at visually as a musician, it grabbed me, and I was trying to remember how you and I first connected and became friends, and then you ended up coming in studio to the TV studio for the Rock and Review and all that with some of the artists that are involved, with Acoustic Coffee Company. But it's like, but the whole concept of merging music and coffee, and supporting charities, it's like, it just, like I told you before we, started doing the interview, it's just, there's just such a synergy, with what you and Mike came up with, to where, much like the coffee and the beans in these bags, it felt organic.
Well, thank you. So thank you for the kind words. I will say this: along this journey, there were some bumps, a lot of bumps. The first bump was, how are we going to sell this? Do we want to do brick and mortar? Do we want to go get a roaster? Do we want to, invest in all of that? And we thought, let's start with a model where we find really good contract roasters, because they know what they're doing, and roast to our specifications. We drank so much coffee, Eric, when we started doing this, man. We were testing coffee from all these.
You could have called me. You could have called me. I got a coffee addiction.
We had so much coffee, we needed the martinis by 11 a.m. just to counteract all of the caffeine. But, and in all seriousness, we are still operating in a relationship with wonderful roasters. And we decided not to do the brick and mortar. We decided to do it online, because we thought, as a launch, we could reach more people.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and it was a unique concept when you first approached me about it, and I'm sure with a lot of people, and, and certainly, viewers and listeners for the Gear Gab podcast, where the subscription base, was like, it was, to me, it was just, I had to wrap my head around it to kind of understand. But also, if you think about it, Rich, I mean, on a regular basis, none of us go without coffee. There's certain things in your life, you know what I mean, that, for myself speaking, and my wife, to where we must have coffee. It's just, that's just, and I was going to tell you this earlier before we started the show, where when I told my mom that you and I were going to be doing an interview together, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I love that acoustic coffee last time you brought it home, because you came through Nashville and I took my mom some, and she said, that's the best coffee." So there you go for Mom.
Well, thanks, Mom. That's great. That's great to hear. You're touching on so many different things. So the concept was born. We had to build a website. All right, we got to build a store. We have to do the e-commerce. We got to get the merchant services. The payment gateway. These are all things we're learning, because we didn't do this. Mm-hmm. We broke. I won't mention platforms, but we broke 2 of the platforms. They just didn't work. And when I say they didn't work, it's not to say that their platforms aren't working, but they didn't meet our vision for what we.
Is that like breaking the internet?
We didn't break the internet, but we broke every time we turned around. Well, so here's the other thing. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble saying this, but you go on the internet, you go to a store, you make a purchase, and everything works seamlessly. So you think, oh, all right, everything's included.
Right.
What we didn't realize was these storefronts, you create the shell, and then it's like buying a car with no wheels, no engine, no windows, no steering wheel. All of those are third-party apps that bolt onto the storefront.
It's like a Maserati. Those are all extra.
Everything was extra. So we had to learn that. But anyway, during this whole process, we have to come up with a forecast. Like, what can we expect to get out of this?
Sure.
And this is probably, if there's one thing that I can share that is the most rewarding of this has been in this experience, is we're not a public company, and therefore we don't have to answer to anybody's expectations on forecast. We are selling great coffee to wonderful people who love music. And if it's one at a time, one additional person a week, we're okay with that. Is because we don't want to sacrifice the quality along the way.
Well, and also, to touch on that too, Rich, to where you and Mike really believe in this. And I think that's what comes through. Not only great coffee and the people that you've aligned with, artist wise and luthier wise, but you guys believe in this. You're not just doing this because let's do coffee.
Well, well, listen, no matter what business you're in, if you're not believing in it, then I feel bad.
But you love it.
Yeah, you got to have passion for it. So anyway, but that's connected back to your comment from your mom. So, after year one, we get in our new platform, everything's working great, and the sales are running. We're keeping the lights on, right? It's not, we're not driving around in Maseratis or whatever, insert whatever brand you think luxury equals. But I said to Mike, we have to be diligent and not look at this through rose-colored glasses. We have to, if there are signals that this isn't working, we need to pay attention to those. And on almost a routine basis, well, I would say, Eric, you get a free moment, read the reviews on the website. But
I did. I was on there the other day.
We get notes from people that just they just make you feel warm inside. I met a woman, and people like, oh, you have a coffee company? Oh, that's great. I love coffee. And I always start the conversation. Well, what's your favorite coffee? Well, what's interesting is how little people really understand about what they're drinking. So I said, what's your favorite coffee? What I try to pin down is, what is your favorite origin? What part of the world? Because coffee grows in the bean belt, and it's a lot of different continents, and it tastes different depending on the soil and the elevation. But people are, I like, kiwi, something like, it's a brand name or whatever. And I said, well, what's in it? What kind of coffee is it? She's like, I don't know, regular, not decaf, but, or someone will say hazelnut or, that kind of thing. And then I just start peeling the onion and, getting into the conversation. Well, coffee grows all over the world. And, so I get them to describe to me what they like. And then their eyes are open. So anyway, this one wonderful woman, I said, what's your favorite kind of coffee? She said, whatever's on sale. I said, I completely get that. Honestly, we were talking about this the other day with the economy. We launched this company in the middle of the pandemic, and the economy was in the shitter. And somewhere in here, there's a white paper, a Harvard Business Review, about how to launch a company or how not to launch a company. I just don't know which one it's going to be yet. But so I said, I completely understand. We're probably not the coffee for you. We're paying extra to get the premium coffee, and we roast it meticulously. We take good care of it. Anyway, long story short, she had our coffee. She's like, oh my God, I'm going to start buying this. This is amazing.
There's a testament.
Yeah, those little stories, and the people send us letters, and I have a wonderful woman. Her monthly subscription to Tommy's CGB Fuel is 6 bags a month. Wow. And we just love this, but we didn't want to leave the customers out either. The charities are certainly an important part of it, and we wanted to make that connection, because the artists. Here's how we look at it, Eric. We're a coffee company. And nobody knows Acoustic Coffee Company from anybody. I'm a guy that builds guitars and ukuleles and instruments, but I'm not on stage. I don't have any ambitions or plans. In fact, I probably never will. My favorite musical talent is my coffee and my guitar in the morning by myself, which by the way, in the research that we've done, the vast majority of people that play guitar play for themselves. For their self.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I was going to bring up also that it was so ironic that, building it, while, building the company and the coffee like you and Mike did. And then the first partner is Greg Boros from Gurum Guitars. And I mentioned to you, month or two ago, I was in Gruen and talking with Greg and how proud of the coffee he is and of that partnership. And I remember the marketing and everything you guys did when it first came out. And I thought that's so interesting because, once again, as you and I know, Rich, you don't typically see, luthiers or people behind the scenes being showcased. I mean, maybe, once in a while, like Seymour Duncan making a pickup, in a guitar magazine. But usually it's the stars, whether it be the guitarist, the singer, whoever, the artist on stage, and not the people behind the scenes. And that's one of the things that caught my eye with the Acoustic Coffee Company, that you highlighted different people.
Well, so many people are involved in when it comes to the show, right? There are so many people involved, not just the artist that's standing in front of it. The fans know the artist, of course, but we thought long and hard about, like, what's the strap line, what's the tagline for Acoustic Coffee, and because we wanted to recognize exactly what you just said, we settled on coffee that empowers the makers of music. The makers of music are the Tommies and the Jakes and the Lawrence Jubers and Andy McKees that stand on the stage. But the makers of music are the people that make the instruments, the people that set up the show, the people that get the stage ready. I mean, and there's so many. I am not in the circle of entertainment. I can tell you a lot of fun stories, but I'm learning, all of a sudden I'm learning, like, tour manager, business manager, agent, publicist. Like, I don't know.
So many layers, and they all need coffee.
There's so many layers, and they all run. Everybody runs on coffee. So, okay, so we're here. We want to be the coffee that empowers the makers of music, regardless of what role you play. But back to the Gruen guitars and Greg. It was clear to Mike and I, this isn't going to happen overnight, and we don't have the capital for just big advertising campaigns, so we got to go out on the road. All right, well, where are we going to go? Well, I know a little bit in the world of guitar makers, and I'm going to head down to Nashville, and Greg and I connected. I'm going to go visit Greg, and we're going to have a conversation. But went to the shop, visited him. I mean, you can get lost in that second floor of Gruen's. I mean, what a wonderful little tuck.
I've gotten lost and didn't want to leave.
Yeah. And then, of course, I'm taking pictures of all the guitars for my friends, going, here's one for you, here's one for you, here's one for you. But anyway, so it was the day after, actually, after my visit, Deb and I were walking through downtown, and Greg calls me and he says, I've been thinking more about what you were talking about, and I want to run an idea past you. And that's when he said he was kind of keeping it very private, his diagnosis. And he said, what do you think about this? I said, let's do it. Let's knock this out of the park. So we are so delighted to be able to help, and it's really specific. His fund is specific to Nashville and Vanderbilt and helping the people with MS in that community. And he said, how big can this be? And I said, how many people are in Nashville drink coffee? I mean, we haven't taken it as far as, like, I haven't shopped it around and tried to get into the supermarkets and the stores there. I mean, I guess that's something we could do to kind of expand a little bit broader, but we took that model, the relationship with Greg, and then it just was the same thing. All right, well, let's call this artist and see if they like coffee and see if they'd be interested. Got a hold of the agent. Yeah, that's actually a cool idea. Let's run it past him. Yeah, he says, yes, let's do it. And then Tommy's on board, and then Jake's on board, and it was wonderful.
Well, and I brought this up too, Rich, to where what impressed me too, and you came into the TV studio when we were doing, one of the Rock and Review interviews with Tommy Emmanuel, and how proud Tommy was of his CGP, Certified Guitar Player Coffee, and also that it supports the Guitars for Vets, which is a charity near and dear to his heart. And the same thing we were talking about with Jake Shimabukuro, to where, when I've had him on the TV show before, and that it supports the charities that he cares about. And we were joking about the first name, because now the coffee's been renamed. It's Kind Hearted Coffee now. Yeah. But I was joking, Jake, on it, Rich, going, your coffee is, my dog has fleas. which does not sound like your best flavor of coffee, and which of course Jake just starts laughing about it, going, well, that's the tuning for ukulele. I'm like going, okay, well, I own, ukuleles. I don't play them well, like I do guitar, so I hope a little better. But it was I thought that was such a fun name, and Jake enjoyed telling that story, Rich.
It's so we met Jake in Indianapolis at a sound check, and we drove out, and he's one of our favorite people in the world. And he was telling me, like, I have this idea, and I want to call it My Dog Has Fleas, because that's the tune. He said the same thing to us. That's the tuning of the ukulele. And of course, I'm starting to run through, okay, E, A, D, G. And so My Dog, M, there's no M note, M, D, H. There's no H. Like, Jake, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Right.
Because I was associating the letter with the note that you tune the ukulele. And he said, no, you sing a song. My dog has fleas. And that's how you know that it's.
And when Jake says it, it makes total sense.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Plus, and once again, we're talking about Jake, who obviously, working with your company, with you and Mike. But I have not seen another artist take an ukulele and do what Jake can do with it, and the songs that he approaches, and everything else. It's like, he plays his instrument with like reckless abandon, but then also, like we were talking too, Rich, he's so supportive of the charities that matter to him and the things that are near and dear. And I think that makes the sense with the alignment with the Acoustic Coffee Company.
I remember at this sound check, actually I've been to a bunch of them with different artists. And the one thing I said to Mike, it's such a gift for us, the audience, when you're watching somebody who's clearly not just passionate about what they do, but you can tell they just love it. Mm-hmm. And he's up there doing his thing, and you can't help but feel just being a better person when you leave one of his shows. It's impossible. I will challenge anybody to leave a Jake concert and not feel better than when they did when they walked in. But the alignment is great. The passion for the charities is great.
I got to ask you this too, Rich. Just how, with the, and obviously it's very intentional, with like everything you've done with Acoustic Coffee Company, with going through all the different beans. I love talking it over with you. It's like I thought I knew coffee until I sat down with you in my office that day. I'm like, I really need to get my coffee game up, because there's so much involved in the beans and all this kind of stuff, and the different ways that you offer the coffee, whether it's whole bean, ground, and the K-cups and all that. But how did you guys figure out your alignment with artists and people? Because you've got a number of musical artists and people on your roster, but how did you guys figure that out?
Well, with them, this is just my perspective. So this is not a right or wrong. It's just how we approach it. Having a conversation about coffee is like talking about ice cream. What's the best ice cream? Whatever your taste buds like. Yeah. Right. So coffee is, take the history of the bean out, the goats eating it, and, Ethiopia, and then gone across over to, over the Suez Canal, and take all that out. Mm-hmm. It's a fruit that grows on a tree. I had this conversation about 3 months ago with someone. They had no idea coffee was a fruit. Mm-hmm. So that, I think people believe that there's this like a bean that grows on the tree, and it's a brown bean, and it pops off the tree, and then that's but it's a fruit. It grows at elevation. It grows in very hot weather. The higher the elevation, the more the bean stays on the tree. It becomes sweeter, but you have to process it. You have to husk it. It's literally looks like a cherry, just like a cherry tree. Yeah. And then you dry it, and then you bag it up. And when you roast this bean, have you ever had Eric? Have you ever had a raw peanut?
Yes.
Unroasted peanut.
Yes.
Horrible. Yeah.
Horrible thing.
If you were to put an unroasted coffee bean in your mouth, it would be the same thing.
But I was thinking about it too, Rich. It's like, you've had like a master's class on coffee now and on the beans. You know what I mean? It's like I had an artist in studio recently, and we were like drilling down, talking about, all the crazy stuff on guitars. And that's like you with the coffee beans now. It's like you have such a deep knowledge of this, much, much deeper than the average person in the street.
Than the average person. But there are people that have so much more knowledge, and we're learning every day. We're learning. There's always something more to learn, which is, that's what I enjoy about life in general.
Totally.
But back to your question. So with each of the artists, like I'll tell you, I'll share a couple fun verbatims. I don't think I'm violating any,
There's no NDA.
there's no what's the word I'm looking for? Proprietary IP. There's no intellectual property here.
Yeah.
So Jake, for example, being from Hawaii, he's passionate about Kona coffee. He's like, I would like my coffee to be Kona coffee. I said, that's great. We want to do that too. The problem with that, Jake, is Kona is so rare, so expensive. Very, very few people are going to be able to enjoy a $50 bag of coffee. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're right. That's important. Do you have any other favorite coffees? And he says, I really have been enjoying Honduras. I'm like, yes, Honduras coffee is delicious. So what we did, and in order legally to call a coffee a Kona blend, it has to have at least 10% of the Kona coffee in the mix.
Okay.
So I said, well, we don't feel right doing that. So let's put 20% Kona in the mix, in the blend, but we won't double the price of the Kona blend. We'll just offer it at the same. So our margins are significantly less on Jake's coffee, but that's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because we want to celebrate and share with the charities and, build a community of doing it. So that was the Jake conversation. The conversation with Tommy and his team, what's Tommy's favorite coffee? And he said, I love Italian coffee. And I said, well, no coffee really grows in Italy. Maybe what you mean is you really love the espresso when you're sitting in a cafe in pick a city, Milan, Florence, whatever. He's like, absolutely, that's what it was. Okay, that gives us some. That was a starting point. So, yeah. What we did, and we know that the coffee that kind of the Italian blends that classical Italian blends are all South American beans. So what we do, and we do this with every one of our artists, is we'll build a sampler, if you will, blend A, blend B, blend C. We won't tell them what's in it. Just enjoy it. And you extract it however you extract it. You pour overs, you do espressos, you just do drip coffee, French press, whatever your extraction process is. Just enjoy these different blends and let us know what your favorite is. And that's how we approach every blend for every artist. And sure enough, Tommy came back and said, this is my favorite. Good. Well, it's, Peru, Brazil, Colombia. All South American beans, and it makes a really delightful espresso. That's probably another one of our favorites. Is people say, I love espresso beans, and I'm like, well, there's really no espresso tree. It's a coffee bean. And people
once again that education level.
Yeah, they really think there's espresso trees, but and there's people who say that has to be roasted a specific way. But we have customers that are making espressos with Ethiopian or Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, which I find it's not my palate. I think it's a little too floral for my preference, but they're making espressos with every one of our different coffees. So,
well, and what's interesting too, my daughter has been working at a local coffee company in Nashville. And so I've been learning way more about these other drinks.
Fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's been a hard education, Rich, because usually with me, I'm having like a flat white, or I want to smell the coffee, and I want to taste the coffee, and I don't want a lot of other stuff in there. Besides, I like some creamer, maybe sweetener, but it's like going, I want the real deal. Whereas my father drank all coffee straight black. That's just the way. He didn't want any creamer, no sweet, nothing. And but I think also what's so tantalizing, and certainly, when I was brewing the cup of your coffee before we did the show, the smell to where I like when I'm waking up in the morning and certainly having my 2 to 3 cups in the morning, the smell is almost as invigorating as the flavor. Because I think good coffee, great coffee is so aromatic, don't you?
Oh, without question. For it's interesting to watch the evolution, looking at the numbers just in the last 5 years. More people that I just saw this, more people that enjoy coffee daily for the first time are drinking specialty coffee as opposed to regular standard, what we call standard coffee. So the on the shelf store brands, the big brands, right? Which means they're getting better quality coffee, and they're getting coffee that is roasted correctly. I don't want to get into disparaging comments, because there are very, very large coffee companies out there that economically are doing wonderfully. But when you roast massive quantities of coffee, the one way to make it consistent is to over roast it or burn it. But one of the things that's important to understand you have this fruit, like I was telling you, and the raw bean, and the roasting process unlocks the sugars that are trapped in this bean. And as you roast it, it becomes more aromatic, it becomes more flavorful. But the further you go on that roasting profile, the more you're cooking out the natural flavors. So wine is a good comparator. If you have a grape like a Cab that's growing in Napa or Alexander Valley, and you compare that to a grape that's growing in France, the flavor of that grape is going to be different.
Totally. Because you got the sunlight, you've got the water, the rain,
mostly the minerals, the minerals. But all of that contributes to the flavor profile. Well, that's the same thing in coffee. So people that are really enjoying, I drink the coffee black. I enjoy the flavor of the coffee without anything in it. And I like to experiment. Oh, the Sumatra. I love the robustness and the power of Sumatra. I love the snappiness of a Costa Rica. The smoothness of Brazil. Brazil is Mike's favorite. Brazil Bourbon Santos is our single origin from there, and you can really start. It's like having a flight of wine. If you had the 4 different coffees in front of you, you would have it. And so I don't like to put the sugar and the cream in there, because I want to taste the actual coffee itself. So, but the more you roast it, the more that origin flavor gets roasted out. Now, why is that important? Think about it. Okay. So now there's a challenge with getting my beans from this region because of a frost or a disease or something.
Sure.
Well, I'm just going to substitute it with another bean, and we're roasting it to death anyway. People just want a cup of coffee, and most people are putting cream and sugar in it anyway. So it's least disruptive to the giant manufacturers who are just cranking through hundreds of thousands of tons of coffee. But to this conversation, I've had this, thousands of times with the local roasters, the mom and pop roasters that are very proud of their beans and how they care for the coffee. That's a different experience.
Oh,
so, yeah. It's
well, and that's the thing too. I mean, and like you brought up too, and I was going to bring up, how well the Acoustic Coffee Company is doing now, how you guys are flourishing and growing. But to me also, coffee is an affordable treat. You know what I mean? It's something that you enjoy, but it's like going, you're giving yourself, just like you mentioned ice cream earlier when we were talking, to where it's like, it's a treat. It's like going, because I remember like with my grandparents, Rich, and they, my grandpa came from a Swedish family and everything, and coffee was a big deal. And they had 2 pots of coffee going all day long. One regular, one decaf, from the time they got up until when they went to bed. And it was just, it was part of the life experience. But I think for a lot of us, just like with a lot of these coffee places that people go and get their drinks, and they write their name on the cup, and it makes them feel special. And it's like giving yourself permission to have better coffee, but it's so interesting to me. And I always learn talking with you, Rich, to where you guys have taken like great coffee and then merged it with music, and then with charities, it's like everything all mixed together.
Well, there's one other ingredient in this mix that I want to make sure that your
Is that love?
your audience. Well, you could say it's love, but it's how. So I had somebody the other day. So we were at a show. What show were we at? I can't remember. It might have been Dallas, and we went down to the Dallas show, and
It's a great show.
we put up a booth.
Great guitar show.
Let's see what happens. And somebody came up, and it was in jest. I know that they were just being kind of like cute about it, but they said, "Is this coffee going to make me better?" And I said, "Actually, it will." And now here's how I justified that, because we've also spent a lot of time building our family and network of rewards partners. Mm-hmm. So as everyone's enjoying this coffee, this is our way of also giving back to the customers to say thank you. So we've decided everybody will, so that we as consumers, we've gotten so conditioned to wait for it to go on sale, wait for it to go on sale, wait for it to go on sale, wait for it to go on sale. And we all know, I mean, if you're buying a suit that's $400 off, and they're still making a profit on it, then they're jacking the price with. So we don't do that. We have to have a margin. We don't put our coffee on sale. Very rarely. In fact, here's a little commercial for people that might be interested. We also don't fill your inbox with emails. I'm on lists where I get 7, 6, 10 emails every day from the same, don't forget this, don't forget this. We'll send out emails. I don't know. I mean, you get the confirmation emails. Thank you for your order. This is coming now. Your order just shipped. You're supporting this charity. It's kind of more confirmational transaction.
Right.
But we might send out 4 marketing emails a year, maybe. Anyway, but what we've done is we decided in our business model, all right, Eric, you're a customer. Here's the price of the coffee. We hope you're enjoying it. After you've made 10 purchases, you're now silver, and you get 10% off the coffee. Not you have to do that again next year. You now get 10% off the coffee for the rest of your life. And then gold is 15% off, and then platinum is 20% off. But that stays with you forever. So that's the first way we say thank you, because we would much rather have our customers keep coming back.
Right, and you've got regular customers then that are committed to Acoustic Coffee Company and also to the charities that they're supporting through it.
And then here's the kind of, we call it the cherry on top. Thank you is you earn the points. Everybody knows rewards points, hotel points and airline miles and everything. So people understand the model. But what we've done is we're up to 18, I think now, 18 rewards partners. So strings, capos, tuners, lessons. We have relationships with TrueFire. So you can use your coffee points and get a TrueFire subscription and learn how to play that song from Tommy Emmanuel.
Which will make you a better player.
Which will make you a better player, right? Cases. And from the builders, we have lessons. We have, video lessons on how to build instruments. We have StuMac. We just added StuMac. So if you're a builder and you need tone woods or nut files or whatever it is that you're working on the instrument,
I need to buy a neck rest from StuMac.
And you're drinking coffee anyway, then it's a way you can use your points for things that are more than just coffee. So that's how we say thank you to our customers, and everybody feels good because we're doing good things with musical charities. And
I think it's such a great model, Rich. And I was going to ask you too, how many different types of coffee does the Acoustic Coffee Company offer now?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think
put you on the spot, didn't I?
Yeah, I'm going to say somewhere around 35.
I knew it was 35. Over 30.
Yeah, I think so. We have the single origins, so South America, Central America. We have the Kona from Hawaii, Sumatra, Africa. So we have the pure coffees, and then we've made a bunch of fun blends: augmented blend, harmonic blend, melodic blend. Melodic is organic, augmented. Yeah, so that's Central and South America.
I really like your blends. I mean, I think the Sumatra is incredible.
And all of the artists, our signature blends are all blends. So it doesn't, we kind of say, let's have fun with this, as opposed to, allowing or having an artist have just Brazil coffee or something like that.
You know, it's funny too, Rich, and I didn't tell you this earlier, is that from the first time that you came to visit me, I think here in Nashville, I still have the Acoustic Coffee Company coasters on my desk at work. So when any time I have, artists in to come on the TV show or something, I'm using one right now, in fact. So on
is it the cork one? Yeah. So that's the other thing we've done is stickers, picks. We have the picks made, and
great T-shirts,
case
like
candy.
So
on. Yeah, when you get your coffee, you'll get a coaster or a set of picks or something to surprise you. And the other thing, I'm very respectful of people's privacy. So we don't sell anything. We never will sell anything. No data. If people want to, they can create an account, and then there's a form. Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your favorite coffee? What's your favorite pick gauge? What's your favorite string gauge? What T-shirt size are you? And we get to know you that way, right? What instruments do you play? Are you a beginner, intermediate, advanced? That kind of stuff. Just
when I filled that out the first time too, Rich, I'll tell you how it felt to me. Once again, being a musician, just like yourself, it felt like I was really sharing of myself because, when you talk about, your pick gauge and your string gauge and your main instrument and this kind, it's stuff that you share with other musicians. And I kind of felt like when I was filling out that profile, that I was sharing of myself, that you don't just share randomly with other musicians.
But it can still feel a little weird. I'm just saying, we were.
I thought it was fun.
We were sensitive to it, but people ask me like, why do you ask all that information? I'm like, well, you know what? When you get your coffee on your birthday month, maybe there's a set of strings in there. I don't know. Just saying. Those are the easy things to do because, going back to what we were talking about before the recording, we just wanted to create a company that was the way we used to remember relationships, company relationships. We know the names of the customers. We want to put the customers first and just do the right thing. And have fun along the way.
Right. But like you and I talked the first time we met, Rich, which I'll never forget, to where how can you go wrong with putting, guitars and musicians and coffee together? Because it's like anytime, like once again, all the songwriter rounds here and whenever, artists get together and you're writing songs, what's the first thing everybody breaks out? Coffee. And so to me, it's like just a perfect match. And I wanted to ask you too on it, Rich. So if somebody is signing up to subscribe to Acoustic Coffee Company, you mentioned the lady that does like the 6 bags of certified guitar player, Tommy Emmanuel coffee. But can people start out with like subscribe to a bag or a thing of K-cups? How does it work?
Yeah, whatever. So coffee, because so I'm about a bag a week. Two cups in the morning. I'm so
glad we're talking coffee right now.
Yeah, two cups of coffee in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. I go through about 3, maybe 4 cups a day.
Yeah.
So I'll blow through a bag of coffee in 1 week. So a subscription for me is probably 4 bags. Yeah. What I'm saying is, but that's not everybody. Some people do it as a treat. The coffee that we made for Lawrence Juber, he approached us and said, can you make something that's not so caffeinated? So we did a half calf for Lawrence because he wanted an after dinner coffee that didn't keep him jittery and everything. And I'm like, perfect. And now we have a half calf. We call it our finger style half calf.
And the half calf would be perfect also for like after dinner with a dessert.
Exactly.
Because you want coffee, but like, I don't know, I'm not a fan of decaf, but a half calf, I could do that. I could get
I was talking, I was either texting him or emailing, I can't remember, Lawrence a couple of days ago, and I just said, you pissed me off. He is so technically advanced and perfect in his everything he does. There's not one missed note. And I listen to it and I just go, you make me angry.
It's like so many artists like that, especially when you go see them live and you see them in a performance, and it's like going, either I need to go home and practice a lot more guitar or burn or give them away. So it's like going, what am I going to do here?
So when we were in the studio, before you guys were adjusting the light or something, and I leaned over to Tommy and I said, you're also making me very angry with he does that Beatles medley day tripper thing where he's playing all 6 parts at the same time.
Mhm.
And I said, I tried that a million times. And he comes over with his guitar and goes, oh, let me show you the trick. The bass note, you reach in with your thumb, you miss this note, like it was nothing to him. And I said, yeah, I don't think that's going to do it, Tommy.
It's so funny because, and once again, such a great artist to have as a part of the Acoustic Coffee Company. But, from my interviewing Tommy over the years for TV, for magazine, whatever, he is so encouraging, just like what he does with his camps and everything, Rich, to where, even when I've played, I was in his house before and I was playing one of his vintage Martins. He's like, you should play more often. It's like going, I'm around people like you who are insanely good. It's like I saw Tommy at the Ryman when he was on tour here last year.
What a great venue. Yeah.
Yeah, just amazing. Well, and I know also, talking about the coffee and everything, Rich, with Acoustic Coffee Company, that the Gear Gab podcast is going to be working with the company now also. Now, we haven't gone to the point of having our own coffee or anything, but we are going to offer, to you a code for people who are buying coffee.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome to share that code with as many people as you like. Our goal is to by next week dislodge the big green monster. So
well, and I'm gonna, can I share it on the show right now?
Of course, yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
well, our code for listeners and viewers of the Gear Gab podcast, if you go onto the Acoustic Coffee Company and you're making your order, load in Gear Gab. So it's like all, no space in between those two words, Gear Gab, and that gets your how much of a percentage off, Rich?
I think, what did we say, 20% first order?
I think so. Yeah, first order, 20% off. And also, I think, and I got to say this too, Rich. Once again, being such a huge fan of the coffee and what you and Mike do with this company, it's a great way to try it out, to see what you like and in whatever form you like to enjoy coffee, whether that is with the raw beans or the ground or the K-cups. I think it's a fun way to give it a shot. And I mean, and I told you this too, and I know you're the marketing guy like me, Rich, but I love the new T-shirts you guys are doing.
Oh, thanks.
With the coffee and the strings like you're wearing, it's like, it just looks cool.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
you guys are never selly or pitchy about the coffee. I think what you always do, like when you're at the TV studio, I'll never forget this. And it was such a cool thing to where you went and made coffee for everybody.
Yeah, well,
and so it's like going, well, that's, because a lot of times I have artists come in and they're like, hey, can your assistant get coffee? It's like, I am my assistant. I'll go get your coffee. Yeah. But you went and made coffee, for all of us there. And it was like in the whole office and the studio. And I mean, everything smelled great and it tasted great. And how can you be unhappy or in a bad mood with good coffee?
Coffee is, I agree with you, first of all. But I really believe that coffee is that it brings everybody around the table. We can sit and have a wonderful conversation about pretty much anything. Enjoy the coffee. The coffee, I call it the coffee ritual, is different for everybody, just like the flavor is different. A lot of people, before they pick up their guitar, they love the idea of grinding the beans, doing the pour over, the meticulous pour over to get that perfect cup. I happen to gravitate to a double espresso Americano. So I do a double shot of either the South American beans. I love the Sumatra. It makes a wonderful espresso. And then, the perfect temperature hot water. And speaking of that, the other thing is we're always available. So if anybody has any questions and they drop, the customer service email a line, a lot of people, will say to me, my coffee's so bitter. I'm like, well, your water's too hot, because they just have never been told. People boil water and that's going to make your coffee bitter. But there's so many different things that people, just small little changes, are going to change their coffee experience. But back to my comment, whether it's pour over or French press or the espresso, everybody has their approach. And that's what I love about it. And so our goal is we just, give us a try. And if it's not if it's something that, is not your ball of wax or whatever the word is.
Not your cup of coffee.
Phrases. Yeah, if it's not your cup of coffee, that's fine too.
Well,
There's a
and
lot of great.
I got to put you on the spot though too, Richie. Are there
Yeah.
going to be any new artists added for this year, or any new coffees added? Can you give us the scoop on any of the secret information behind the Acoustic Coffee Company for this year?
So the short answer is quite possibly there will be. We're always in conversations, right? But one of the things that we're probably not very good at is being pushy. So if the conversations take 2 years, they take 2 years.
Right.
You know,
Well, and I think also what you and Mike do very well, and I mean this as a compliment, is that you allow the coffee to speak for itself. You know, just like when we've hung out together and invariably are talking guitars and enjoying a great cup of coffee, you just let people enjoy the coffee. You know what I mean? And then make up their own minds. And I think that's it's part of the experience, like you said.
Well, we like to two things. We like to delight people, and we like to not be disruptive.
Right.
And our goal in starting any relationship and conversation is we don't want to be disruptive to like these artists. They're not in business to sell coffee, but if they can, our handshake with them is you are the amplifier. Right. We don't do marketing and we don't spend a lot of advertising dollars, but you have a cause and we're going to help you with that cause, and you can unlock as much as you want. You become the amplifier and tell your audience. And quite frankly, Eric, it makes a lot more sense because we could, peddle coffee and we could push it but the fans of a Jake, for example, him talking about the cause and how it's helping Music for Life Foundation, right, is so much more powerful than us going around saying, "Hey, you should try Jake's Coffee. It helps your music." No,
and it's from the heart. It's from the heart.
And there's an acute what's the word I'm looking for? There's an acute experience happening, an intimate experience happening at that moment that is so much more powerful than us creating a commercial. So
it's very authentic. But I want to make sure also for our viewers and listeners for the Gear Gab podcast, Rich, the website, the social media, everything for the Acoustic Coffee Company, where do they need to go?
Acoustic.coffee.
Okay. And that's got everything. That's got the social media. That's got the being able to reach out to you and Mike.
Yeah. So I'm so embarrassed. I suck at social media. I don't know. There's an ampersand in front of it? Acoustic Coffee Company, maybe. Yeah. We like you, we were saying, you do everything, you make the coffee, you empty the trash, all that stuff. Yeah. We're a small family company and we do it all, but I'm, as you can see with the color of my hair, when it comes to understanding how this social channels work, it frustrates me. So, yeah.
But I also, for viewers and listeners for the Gear Gab podcast, once again, if you want to try out the Acoustic Coffee Company coffees,
acoustic.coffee.
Use the code that we mentioned earlier, Gear Gab, and get 20% off your first order, right, Rich?
Yep. And the URL, we don't want to be .com, we're a .coffee, so it's acoustic.coffee.
I like that. And look at that. Look at the great looking bags and, happy brewing, happy strumming on the back. I mean, it's just great product and great coffee, great people, and you're helping out charities too. And Rick DeGento, thank you so much for coming on the show. And
thanks.
And I learned some stuff. Every time I hang out with you, I learn stuff about coffee.
I love learning. I'll tell you, I love learning so much. I have I keep pointing back here. You were mentioning Jake. I went to his camp a couple years ago in Nashville at a ukulele camp. And I said to Deb, it just hit me. I'm going to be in the presence of the best ukulele player ever. Right. I should make some ukuleles and let him play them so I can get some feedback. And so I did. I made 3. And because this is what we do as builders, I braced them all differently. Mm-hmm. I did a ladder bracing, I did a suspended X bracing, did an X bracing, different woods and everything. And he played them all and he gave me wonderful feedback. So I got I got this guy bringing up.
Oh my
close.
gosh!
So I got this guy that I'm working on right now. That's
Look at that binding.
Yeah,
That is beautiful.
It's a nice koa binding, and got some pearl in there, and this is a German spruce top, and then a quilted back.
How much coffee did it take to make that?
I don't remember, to be exactly.
You should do that when you're doing builds, Rich. You should mark down how many cups, and then like a little note of this is how much coffee it was required to make this ukulele or guitar. It's
probably the same amount, because if I up the coffee amount, then all the carving and everything it'd be easy to destroy it.
I know, it's got to be just right.
Yeah.
Well, Rich, thanks so much for coming on the show. Be sure and visit their website for the Acoustic Coffee Company, and check out their great coffees. Obviously, a lot of incredible musicians involved, and also the charities they support. Rick DeGento, thanks again for coming on the show, and we'll see you soon in Nashville.
All right.
Thanks for joining the Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl. Subscribe to our weekly conversations on your favorite platform. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to leave us a review. Follow us on social media at Gear Gab Podcast. You'll never know who our next guest will be.